DubNation, how we doing? Golden State Warriors fans, how we doing? I think it's kind of like we're not doing horribly in terms of like our morale, right, as Warriors fans. I think we're more in the middle, though. It's definitely not up, right? If like any member of the Golden State Warriors chose, because it's like a decision, to ride and dominate with Stephen Curry, I don't think none of us would like be averse to that, right? But let's stop. Let's sort of retrack a little bit. Welcome to your Golden State Warriors news and notes. Welcome to C-Train Station for those new subscribers. For those who are subscribed, thank you so much for your follows, your likes, and your comments. I love your comments especially, and I hope that I have gotten back to yours. You, yes, you. No, I try to get back to every single comment because I love the just the communication that the C-Train Station community has, the positive discord that we have. But speaking of positivity, right? These are your Golden State Warriors news and notes. Speaking of positivity, C-Train's going to start out positively by giving some praise to Pat Spencer and Quinten Post. Okay, first let's go QP. Quinten Post is now he is a plus defender. He isn't the best defender, honestly. He got dunked on a few times versus Minnesota in some crucial moments, right? But Quinten Post has proven, how about this? He's not a liability on defense. And I think that a lot of people, including me, thought that he could be a liability on defense. Quinten Post can move his feet on defense, understands positioning, definitely has a heart. And on offense, he has range and he understands when to defer to Stephen Curry. I really, really, really like Quinten Post. I don't think he'll ever be an all-star. Just quote me on that, okay? I definitely think that he will be a solid role player, and that's good enough. I don't think that just how Draymond, just how players on the Warriors, let's say even Moses Moody over the years, has sort of, now he more or less, you think he's probably going to get minutes in each and every game. You never know because of Kerr, but I think that Quinten Post should definitely be put in that, like, he's a valuable member of the rotation, and he should never be placed out of the rotation unless he's injured. So it's like, I see 12 minutes a night going to Quinten Post for sickness and for health. But you know what I mean? He's got to be healthy, but you know what I'm saying with that commitment. And of course, and Pat Spencer, is he that mother, right? So Kerr, what I'm doing there is, Kerr, after Pat Spencer had an incredible game a few games ago, he said that Pat Spencer, yes, is that mother effer right there. And I love that. But here's the thing. It was interesting that Pat Spencer's been on a little bit of a run, right? A great run of play. What's interesting, and this is going to lead me to it, right? This is going to lead me to some of to some critiques of the Warriors right now. But Pat Spencer, I just told you that quote from Steve Kerr, that he is that mother effer, right? He was talking about Pat Spencer. Okay, stop. In that Pat Spencer spiel that Kerr went on, he said something to the gist of, he's going to get regular minutes, just like I just said Quinten Post should get, right? Okay, last game, Pat Spencer only got 6 minutes. So it's like, what are we doing? Coach Kerr identified and then coached up a player and now isn't going to play said player, who is actually in form right now. I'm against starting Pat Spencer and playing him big-time minutes, over 20 minutes. But Pat Spencer, in those short spurts, is a proven commodity. He can absolutely run the show for like 6 to 12 minutes every game. And the fact that he was only on there for 6 minutes, I don't like that. I mean, for like 12 minutes minimum every game. Quinten Post and Spencer probably they have played their way up to 12 minutes or more a game. Let's see what happens. I just have to say, in Ray Hudson style, if you don't know who Ray Hudson is, he's this crazy soccer announcer. But in Ray Hudson style, we toast to the genesis of these two magnificent players, Quinten Post and Pat Spencer. So look, the Warriors season, not going super well, right? Not going the worst, but not going the best. We can take some silver linings in the fact that Quinten Post is a younger player. The Warriors have found a big who is proven capable, proven a plus defender and an overall plus player. Well done, Quinten Post. Now, hey, we got to get to the business of it. We have to get to, well, and before, I'll preface it with this. In my last few Warriors news and notes, I have said things like, we have to practice patience. We must practice patience. This isn't the final iteration of the roster. When the Warriors sign Melton, when they sign Seth Curry, then we should start judging them. We need to start judging them when they have that full squad. Well, guess what, DubNation? The Warriors have had a full squad, and they failed miserably. They failed miserably even against teams like the Blazers, which the Trailblazers are definitely like the definition of mid in the NBA. And the Golden State Warriors have lost to them 3 times this season. Not once, not twice. Seriously, the Golden State Warriors have lost thrice to the Blazers. Very much not good. So we gotta, it seems like the Warriors are relatively rudderless. But so allow me to just sort of, allow to say that. I said that after Melton and Seth got situated, we need to be diligent and critical with our critiques. The Warriors haven't played well. They haven't played consistently good basketball over the stretch of 5 to 10 games this whole season. And so now it's time to critique. It's time to critique. Get ready. This is going to be a spiel. This is going to be a rant. Rant incoming. Maybe headphones. Turn the volume down a little bit because I might raise up. But first of all, let me elaborate. There are no consistent lineups. And Kerr is handicapped because this squad has no height and no length in any way, shape, or form. The Warriors' star players, Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, all are on like extreme minutes restrictions. They generally can't play over 30 minutes a night, and Draymond Green's playing like 27 minutes a night, a game. Seriously. Like, seriously. So the fact that the Warriors' best players, who are better by far than any, there's a big gulf in class between Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy and the rest of the squad, right? They're great. Steph is the best. The rest, no, not so much. So it's difficult when those top 3 players are so limited with how many minutes they can play. Here's what I'll tell you. Like, here's an example. Against the Portland Trailblazers, the Warriors were up by, I don't know, let's say they were up by a few points. Let's just say like 5 points. I don't know how many actually is. In the fourth quarter, they were up 5 points. Steph started the fourth quarter to keep the Warriors into it. But then he came out in the middle of the fourth quarter, and the Blazers made a huge run. I believe it was a 12-0 run or something like that. Stop. Steph went out for like 2 minutes in the fourth, and the Blazers made their big run. And then that was it, essentially, right? Okay. Steph had like 34 minutes total. If he had just played the whole fourth quarter, I know that's difficult, but you get the win. Then he's like at 37 minutes total. And here's my question to Dubs fans, okay? Because Steve Kerr can't play his top 3 players competitive minutes. Seriously, he can't play his top 3 players competitive minutes. He can't play them serious minutes because they're too old and they're all on minutes restrictions, okay? So it's like, it doesn't give Coach Kerr a lot to work with. It means that you have periods of time without Jimmy and Steph on the floor. And in those periods of time, the Warriors are getting annihilated, eviscerated, which is just, it's so, so tough. Now, I want to blame, Kerr does shoulder some of this blame, but he was given one of the worst rosters in the league, and it's not even close. Let's just continue to rant. The Jimmy Butler trade was a Hail Mary in the middle of last season. The Jimmy Butler trade. Go look it up. Were the Warriors like, this is who we've had our eye on for years. Jimmy Butler is the guy that's going to complete the team. In an Iguodala-like move, we believe this is going to reset the franchise. No. The Warriors were absolutely desperate come the trade deadline last season. Desperate to do anything. And Jimmy Butler dangled out that if you overpaid him $60+ million a year, he would probably come to the Warriors and give a little bit of an effort. Okay, got it. It hasn't paid off. This hasn't paid off. It was the deal. Jimmy Butler is a good player, not even necessarily great. He's a good player. He's a star. He's not worth $60 million for the playing time that he's allotted. The dude cannot, like, the Warriors have extreme minutes restrictions. No other team in the league, I believe, has as many minutes restrictions as the Warriors. And Jimmy Butler he can't play. He can't play as much. So in my opinion, Jimmy Butler in order to satisfy a $60 million contract, Jimmy Butler needs to play 35 minutes a game. I know it's difficult. How about this? Jimmy Butler will not and cannot play 35 minutes a game. Therefore, the $60 million contract is absolutely not worth it. Not worth it to go through one round and then get kicked out. So, but moving on, Mike Dunleavy Jr. has butchered, destroyed this roster. The Jordan Poole trade I believe the Jordan Poole trade was the worst trade of a few years ago. The Warriors traded Jordan Poole, Ryan Rollins, who is a dominator now. Ryan Rollins might be the third or second best player on the Warriors if he played right now on their squad. They traded Poole, Rollins, and a future first for CP3, and then they let Chris Paul's contract expire, giving them nothing for it. The Warriors literally, they spent a draft pick, got rid of all their young guard talent in order to lose and get a grumpy guy who they would lose for absolutely nothing, who was a detriment to the team. Got it. That was one of them. That's one of the worst teams. That's a horrific trade. The Warriors still are paying for it. They still have a first-round draft pick out. Let's see here. The Jimmy Butler trade, I think it was an okay trade, right? I know. You just trashed the whole trade. No, I didn't. Jimmy Butler is a good player, and he's technically a star in the league. He just has a minutes restriction, and he's completely overpaid. So Jimmy Butler trade, that was a complete desperate trade that just totally didn't pan out. Excuse me. I'm getting ahead of myself. The Jordan Poole trade was a disaster class. The Jimmy Butler trade was decent, but the contract really makes it worse off. Now let's continue. The addition of Al Horford so far has been an absolute travesty. Like, the Warriors really needed a player that they could depend on, a big they could depend on to take over for like the Kayvon Looney, for that absence and loss. The Warriors have gotten nothing. The Warriors have gotten absolutely nothing from Al Horford. And the funniest thing is like, if you Google it or you do your research, it's like the big thing is that Al Horford wanted to come to the Warriors because his son wanted to see him play with Steph Curry. Got it. He shouldn't be on the Warriors because Steph Curry and they scatter their minutes. They spread their minutes out. So he barely gets to play with Steph anyways. So it's like he shouldn't have been signed. If he was signed so that his son could watch him play with Steph, he should retire because he's not playing with Steph. And it's like, that is devastating. I'll tell you what, though. I'm going to say this. I told you so. I absolutely said that I didn't think that Al Horford was an upgrade over Kayvon Looney. Here's another disaster for Al Horford. I think that his legs are becoming shot, even from his range is going to be depleted from beyond the three-point line, something that was his only plus damn near. Okay. But in addition to that, I don't think Al Horford has any ability close to the basket. Brandon Pajensky is more effective underneath the basket than Al Horford, and he will be for the rest of his career. Al Horford has no lift in any way, shape, or form, and also has a horrific field goal percentage. His three-point percentage, decent but dwindling. His field goal percentage, Al Horford's horrific, horrible, terrible. Wasted roster spot, to say the least. That stinks. The roster is honestly it's in more shambles than I can describe. They're not built for the modern NBA. Steve Kerr is one of the better coaches of all time, but he's not hitting the notes this season. He said so. He said he wasn't doing a great job. I agree. I think that once Jonathan Kuminga is finally off of this squad, things will definitely be different with Kerr. It is very difficult to have a player who is so incompatible with the squad taking up that much money and rent. And Jonathan Kuminga doesn't work out with the Warriors. Good luck wherever you go next. You're not a Golden State Warrior. And so you hope that there's going to be a second or third wind once the Warriors trade Kuminga and that Steve Kerr will be reinvigorated. But we'll see. I don't think that is prone to happen as much now, just because the Warriors haven't even started to play consistent basketball. So I can't go and say, hey, look, maybe once Jonathan Kuminga is traded, maybe they'll pick back up and start to play consistent. It's like, no. They have never played consistently well this season. So no, there is no benchmark or barometer for them to play well at all. When Jonathan Kuminga goes, who knows? Maybe they could play decently, but it would surprise me because they still haven't played well this season. It's tough. It's incredibly disappointing. There's no continuity to the roster in any way, shape, or form. If you're having to overplay Pat Spencer, okay, how about this? If Pat Spencer, if you build him up and then he only gets six minutes the next game, then you were probably honestly overplaying him in past games. And I get Steph was out, but he was being overplayed, Pat Spencer. If you're doing that and Guy Santos is getting regular run, because he is, because the Warriors need him and he's one of the better now, wing players on the squad. If those two things are true, which they are, you failed as an NBA franchise. If you're depending on Guy Santos now on an NBA court, Guy Santos is I'm sorry, but he is decent, okay? But he is more of a garbage time player on a good team, not the best option that the Warriors have at the wing position right now. That's really bad. It's really bad. And you know that the roster isn't NBA caliber when on any given night, any player not named Steph can get a DNP, can get a did not play, right? Will Richard, we thought that he was great. He's doing well, right? Did not play the last few games. I get Moses Moody, he'll get did not play. We know that story, right? He gets DNPs all the time. So it's okay, I get it. The Warriors are, one day it'll be Guy Santos, one day it'll be Will Richard, and one game it'll be Moses Moody, right? Listen to what I just said. One game will be that person, one game Richard, one game Moses Moody. Okay, all those three options aren't good enough. They're not good enough. So it's so for me to say one game, it could be Will Richard or whatever, could either step up or did not played, it means that they do not have good enough players, that they aren't good enough to consistently get the run. We wouldn't be talking about that if this were Trey Murphy or Herbert Jones, right? We wouldn't be well, shoot, we don't know if, no. It's bro, Trey Murphy's really good, all-star level. Herbert Jones is all defense level. They will play. So it's not good enough when the Warriors have, when anybody can get a DNP, gosh darn, right, on the Dubs, it means that they don't have anybody. It means that they don't have those dudes. They don't have the guys, the Warriors. It's just, Will Richard, okay, and I'll say this just one more time, and that's it, because I do hammer this in, but okay, let's spitball here. Will Richard, let's go. Will Richard, Pat Spencer, Guy Santos, even Moses Moody. Honestly, I'm sorry, but Trace Jackson Davis. Good teams only have one player like that, of that caliber. One more time. The Warriors have Will Richard, Guy Santos, Trace Jackson Davis, Pat Spencer, which means, in my opinion, they have nobody, because all of those players wouldn't play, wouldn't get run on a good team, or would be garbage time players. And that's not a detriment to them. I'm just saying the Warriors should only have one. The Warriors can only keep one player on that team, of that caliber, and half the team is that caliber. It means that they're not good enough. It absolutely means that they're not good enough, and Mike Dunleavy Jr. has not done his job. The Warriors absolutely love DNPing players, and it boggles my mind, and they're going to continue to do this, but I'll just say this again. Instead of making consolidation trades, like the Dubs probably could have had Trey Murphy years ago. They DMP them for players who routinely, they don't trade players that routinely get DNPs who they could aggregate for a really good player. So just hold this thought real quick. Listen, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, I'm just making this up, okay? Will Richard and 2 first-round draft picks all those 3 players, Will Richard, like Moses Moody and Kuminga, you seriously could have traded for Trey Murphy or Herb Jones. But all of those 3 players that I mentioned, like, it is completely conceivable that all 3 of them will not play for the Warriors in one game. So I think, so that all of them could be DMP'd. So Will Richard and Jonathan Kuminga didn't even freaking play. They were healthy and they did not play last game. They could have been traded for a borderline all-star. But it's way too late for that. They could have been traded when they actually had value for a borderline all-star. And the Warriors have been doing that now for freaking years. And it's absolutely devastating. They think that they're horrible at drafting and like they won't consolidate their failed draft picks for them for a good, consistent player. It's mind-boggling and it's hurtful to Stephen Curry and to DubNation, honestly. So it's like they could have traded DMP for an all-defensive player or an all-star, and the Warriors have chosen not to. They're like, no, I want Will Richard, Moses Moody, and Kuminga to just not play and not be a member of the Warriors, not play, but also not do anything else, not be a member of any other team or do anything with their life. It's like, okay, got it. This is the biggest loser mentality all around, and it's devastating. Okay, bottom line, moves, plural, need to be made in order for the Warriors to compete this season. I don't think Mike Dunleavy Jr. is up to the task, so I think that the Warriors are headed for a play-in and a crash-out, which is incredibly disappointing. Again, I think that the Warriors will make one move, and it'll be borderline desperation, but it is just a difficult one. I got to be a little mean. I don't think Hield or Kuminga should probably ever see minutes darn near again, honestly. But I got big issues with their heart and work ethic, irrespectively. I wrote a lot of notes. I'm just gonna speed through these. I would have no problem with the Warriors trading both Draymond and Jimmy. They're the 2 most talented players outside of Steph, but they are incapable of playing over 30 minutes a game. If you can trade one of those guys for a younger player who is even a little bit worse than Jimmy Butler, but can play like consistently long periods, I would actually take that trade. No problem. Mike Dunleavy Jr. should have been fired, but I think he'll last at GM. Not a good thing. He's good at filling in the margins, which means the Dubs should consolidate trade. But he's the worst Warriors GM in the last 25 to 35 years at making trades. He is horrible, terrible at making trades, Mike Dunleavy Jr. Couldn't be disappointing. But hey, a silver lining to this all. Before you go, just know this. Hey, I'm actually going to, this is filmed on Monday. Next Monday, I will be going to the Golden State Warriors game with the family. Looking forward to seeing the Dubs. I'll try to get some content, all right? I'm going to be with the family. It's sort of a family event, but I am stoked. Warriors versus Magic. Hey, DubNation, Bay Area, Chase Center, look out. Because C-Train's coming. See you next time. Have a good one.